Oh dear. Well, this is going to be an interesting conversation. There's been some hiccups in my release of the Corban Fibre project, and as I promised, I'm here to share the ups and downs of the whole creative process. So just to get you up to speed, this is now episode 6 of the Corban Fibre project, where I have documented my music creation process and also my video creation process, and I've also documented the editing side of it, and eventually it's resulted in, the good news is, the first video is actually done and ready to be released. I'm not going to release it yet until all my ducks are in the row. And that means I need to, one, be up to date with these videos. I want to actually show you a couple of things that I did with the video, so that's probably the next video. Also, I want to make sure that everything's uploaded correctly, that if people are then enticed to view the whole thing, there's a link that they can go to, which is not there yet. And also I want to make sure that the music is actually available on streaming services like Apple Music and Spotify and everything else. So this is where this little conundrum has come into play. Well, you know the creative process, right? It starts off, this is going to be great. Then it morphs into, oh, this is okay. Then it goes, oh, this is shit. Then it gets even darker. I'm shit. But then there's a little bit of hope. Oh, this might be okay. And for the rest of the creative process, and most artists probably go through this, actually, I think every artist goes through this. That's why the artists are tortured. You started with a grand vision, and it slowly gets diluted into something that is real in the world, but many compromises have been made along the way. So, what are my compromises? I'm at the point where it's, well, I've gone through I am shit phase, and now I'm going through this might work. And I have to be positive because there's been a few hurdles in the way. Firstly, let me show you something. I got an email from DistroKid. This is the people that, or the establishment that is going to distribute my music to iTunes and Spotify and so forth, saying, hey, success, Corban Fibre is now live on iTunes and Spotify, go check it out, which I did. So let's go check it out. So if we look at iTunes here, there it is. It's released, it's live. If people search it, great. But notice the problem. Look at his name. And I've only got myself to blame. So when I went onto friggin' DistroKid to write down the album and everything like that, I don't know what it was, buttery fingers, but for some reason I typed in carbon fibre instead of Corban Fibre. So, what does that mean? Shit. I'm shit for having done that in the first place. So what it means is DistroKid has been so kind and delivered all of these under the artist name Corban Fibre. Now, on a little side note, I originally called him Corban Fibre because I thought it sounded a bit more futuristic, and this being an AI project, it kind of worked. But then I talked to a friend of mine, Will, and he said, why not make it Corban Fibre? Makes it more relatable. And I actually agreed with that. So Corban Fibre was born. However, getting back to it now, I want to release this artist called Corban Fibre because all my music video channel has been that. Everything else I've created, like pictures and so forth, have all been under the Corban Fibre persona. I don't want to change it to Carbon Fibre. Luckily, within DistroKid, you can actually go through and edit the artist name relatively simply. However, that will take a while because each streaming platform will now have to get a little alert that says, hey, you know that thing that was distributed under Corban Fibre? Well, it's actually meant to be Corban Fibre. Luckily, I only released one song under the artist, so I'm going to wait until this is sorted out before I release any of the other songs. Reminder, Corban Fibre is a folk project, and under that persona a whole album will be released, and I'm aiming to release 10 songs. The songs are actually done. It's just a matter of how do I want to get them out there in the world, like music video wise. I have done 2 music videos, well, I'm going to do 2 music videos. There's been more capital outlay in doing the others. Anyway, I digress. So, friggin' Corban Fibre is currently Corban Fibre. So if you do check it out on Spotify or Apple, look for Corban Fibre. Not confusing at all, right? And here we are trying to create a brand new brand, and something like this is kind of tripped up. There's also another little thing. This is not my only AI project. This is my second one. I'm actually doing a children's group, pop group, because I've written a lot of kids songs in the past, especially when my kids were younger. And I thought I'd repackage those and make it into a format that people seem to resonate with. And in this instance, I thought, hey, why not make it really poppy? Like, you know, borrowing from the success of K-pop Demon Hunters, why don't I just make a little animated girl group that can possibly perform these kids' songs that I wrote ages ago. I know this is a Corban Fibre project, but what I learned from Popling is going to be relevant to how I approach Corban Fibre, especially in creating him as an online presence. So let's go back to this. So going back to this screen here, you can see my Popling girls are right there, and I've called them Syrah, Silver and Ash. Now, when I delivered this album to TuneCore, which is the it's like DistroKid, just different. I thought I'd try something different, being a different band, hence so trying to minimize the crossover. As you can see here, the girls are kind of they look a little bit like, well, can I say K-pop Demon Hunters? Well, the relevance is that there's 3 girls, and if you look at K-pop Demon Hunters, there is 3 girls, and that's basically, I thought, the only relevance to that. But going back, DistroKid kept giving me these warnings saying, hey, your artwork does not comply with our copyright regulations. You need to change it. Now, to begin with, it was very cryptic. It didn't actually say what the issue was. It just said to me, there is an issue. So I'm going, well, as far as I know, this is original. Yes, I used AI to create it, but AI is also trained to not copy everything exactly. If things are similar, fair enough, you know. I'm not wedded to this type of image, but it kind of worked, and I've done a lot of work with those images now. But what do you do when the images are being challenged? Yeah, exactly. I don't know. So this is what I'm going through. So I'm scratching my head a little bit. The other thing is too, I've actually had 2 singles under Popling, which are here, actually being released, no issues at all. It was only when I started to upload the other 8 versions of the album that it got flagged, and this totally puzzled me. I've done nothing different. But for some reason, after the 3rd one, someone, a robot, got a little bit suspicious that, hey, this is way too close to something that's already being released. And I assumed this would be the whole K-pop Demon Hunters thing. Anyway, back and forth, I emailed them and I said, no, this is original, there's nothing changed here. I even did a reverse image search to check if there is an issue with that. Now, for people who don't know, and this is a really good idea, if you getting AI to create anything, just make doubly sure that it hasn't been taken from somewhere else. And I'll show you this. So if we go to, you start a new search bar, and you've got these, of course, you've got all these options for searching. Usually you type in images, blah, 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 videos. But here, if you click on this one, search by image, you can then drag an image in there and you can find out if something looks similar. So, okay, I did that. I dragged Popling here. Here's my Popling girls. Put them in there. It loads it up like that. Hit the enter button and did it work? Ugh, no, it didn't. Let's try again. I drag it in. There we go, and it starts to populate with things that are similar. Good news is the images that found first and foremost are the ones that I actually created on my YouTube channel and things like that. And then it starts going down to other caricature versions. And of course, here we go. You got the K-pop Demon Hunter girls there. You've got them over here as well. If you want to go through and just, is that similar? And you go, well, no, the drawings are very different. They look similar, but nothing like it. And the hair colors are slightly different as well. But the stands, if you have 3 people standing, but you cannot copyright 3 girls and 3 girls standing in a certain way, right? So I'm thinking, well, that's fine. There is no issue there at all. And looking at all these other images that are relevant to my 3 girls' images, there is nothing that springs that, hey, this is copied from someone else's artwork and so forth. So I went back to them and I said, I can see no issue. Yes, the image is AI generated, but as far as I can see and with my searches, there is no copyright problems. Then I did some more digging. I thought, it must be flagging something, because in my last correspondence with TuneCore, I finally got not a robot, you know, the automated responses. This one I got actually a name associated with it. And to be honest, I think it's just a more intelligent robot. I don't think it's a person. The biggest giveaway is when you see an email with, hi there, blah, 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 blah. I have an account with them. My name is all over all the releases that I've done. Why not say Daniel? So the fact it's an hi there made me very suspicious. Eventually I actually got an email saying, hi Daniel. Aha, it actually knows the context of what I'm delivering here. There isn't copyright infringement. Your characters are too similar to the K-pop Demon Hunters. And it lists the names of the girls. So I thought, okay, that is the issue. And there's no good fighting it in a way that, even though I've named the girls differently, they look slightly differently. If something has been flagged, I'm not going to get it across the line. Or albeit every time I release something under the 3 girls, I'll probably get the same kind of strike. And I want to avoid that. And it is a new group, so I'm going to see where it goes. So I changed the girls slightly, as you can see here. Let's have a look. Where's my glasses? So instead of, why do I say so a lot? Instead of having my 3 girls there, I've actually changed one of them to be a robot. And I sent it back to TuneCore and I said, is this fine? Can this be accepted? And then I got a thing saying, ta-da, thank you very much, great, good to go, we can now release the song. So I made it into a cute little robot, and I thought, being in the age of AI, robots are all the new thing, so it actually worked quite well. So this gives an interesting question in the creative process. You always aim for perfection, but the way is not a straight line, and the outcome is probably not what you had in mind when you began the journey. So I got Claude to ask me a couple of questions regarding this, and this is more pertaining to the creative process. By the way, should I say it now? No, I'll wait till later. Okay, what do you do when the thing you can't control is already out in the world with your name on it spelled wrong? Okay, it's talking about Corban Fibre. I think when things are out of your control, they're out of your control. And sometimes it's the world letting you know, maybe you're not quite on the right track yet. Maybe this needs a little bit more work. There needs to be more commitment. Either commitment to the concept, or maybe even commitment to yourself. Like, you got to ask yourself, is this worth fighting for? And if it is, how much do you want to fight for it? So to begin with, I held my ground. I said, no, this is not being ripped off by anyone else. This is genuine, what I believe to be genuine. And I stand by that, and I'm willing to fight for it. However, after a while, when there's a constant block in there and it's blocking everything else along the way, you start going, well, what's the path of least resistance? And maybe this is where the compromise comes in to the creative process. And being new, the ripple effect is minimal. I haven't released anything in earnest, really, where this is concerned. So now is a good time to just readjust. And maybe this readjustment just might be the thing that makes it a bit more interesting and not like everyone else. This is what I was teasing before. Should I mention this now? In order to take one of the Popling girls away and replace it with a robot, I thought, okay, a robot, how's this? How do I make the robot endearing? One, it has to look appealing and cutish. How do you make a robot do that? And also too, what should I name this robot? You know, R1, give it some crazy name. In the end, what is it? First I tried Kate because K with AIT, so having AI in there, I thought that might be quite clever. But in the end, I actually used Katie with a C, C-A-I-T-E-E. And what it stands for is cat-like AI teen, so abbreviated like that. And that's why the robot version has kind of cat ears, which makes it a little bit more endearing, especially to a younger audience. So I'm learning all these things from making mistakes, of having multiple projects doing a similar thing. And that's the greatest thing about the cross-pollination. So within the creative process, do many different things, because what you do over here will resonate and be of benefit over here. So what I've learned from Popling, I am bringing into Corban Fibre. Claude asked, how do you stay motivated when bureaucracy is sitting between you and your own work? And that's it. And this is where you have to then decide, oh my God, is this worth standing up for? Why is the world against me? Why can't I just release it and everyone loves it and that's it? Well, that's not how the world works, is it? And these challenges, these challenges are there to challenge you. And after the initial depressive mode of going, oh, maybe this just shouldn't be here, maybe there's something wrong with it, Well, you just go through the motions. Path of least resistance. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. I always go back to that because you're going along with the current and you're still rowing, but you're gentle. You're guiding your boat. You're not going against the current. And within that is a sense where things can start to slot into place. You can go hell for leather and fight your way all the way, but you're going to be so battered and bruised and tired, you're not going to enjoy the destination when you get there. That's my philosophy on the creative process. Alright, so what do I do now? With Corban Fibre, I'm going, oh shit, I got AI to make a good looking 45 plus something man with silvering hair who looks like a folk singer. So, oh my god, what if the AI copied someone? What if there's a real Corban lookalike out there and I've just ripped them off? So, what do? Let's go to image search. So here is Corban. This is the initial image that actually ChatGPT created for me. I thought, that's great. Yep, perfect. I like the look. Black t-shirt, non-assuming. I wanted a melancholy look because, you know, he sings introspectively, and that really worked for the song set that I have. So going here, I'm going to do an image search with Corban. So I drag him in there and let's see what comes out of that. So, great news. First thing is, okay, my two images first. And then he gets into, okay, this guy looks a bit similar. This one, yeah, I can see where it kind of borrowed a bit more of the crazy hair. The eyebrows maybe a little bit similar. Maybe even the nose-ish. You can kind of see, took the eyes from here, maybe the facial structure from here. That it looks a bit more oval, the face. And so we have kind of similarly looking people, but there is no exactness I can see which would flag someone saying, hey, why did you use my photo? You know, there's so many faces in the world, there's billions. Yes, you're going to get lookalikes, but you're not going to hopefully get total rip-offs. And if there is one, it's totally unintentional. However, you do want to make sure that if you do create an online persona or an AI persona, that it's at least 90% original. You're not carbon copying someone really famous, whether they be famous in the US or in Argentina or in Canada or Australia. So this is a really good way to just double check. So I urge everyone who's doing this kind of work to double check, otherwise it's going to bite them in the bum. That's what I wanted to share with you today. The agonizing process of dealing with bringing things out into the world. People who are artists deal with this as well, because if I create a track that sounds too similar to a Bob Dylan track or an REM track, people get flagged for that as well, especially using, nowadays there's all these softwares that use certain sound libraries, and now you're getting flagged for using sound libraries through, especially Spotify, I think is quite aggressive, I would say, in that. I had a track called The Flying Scotsman, which was like a shuffle, and it's about a train. And Spotify flagged it for using samples. Ironically, this is one track I actually recorded properly. I actually had someone physically do the drumming for me. I played the bass live. All the vocals were done live in a studio. It was a studio production, yet Spotify chose to flag it for using samples that I didn't have the rights for. I didn't fight it because as you know, if you look it up on YouTube, Spotify is kind of a dark hole. It's a monster. I don't worry too much about it. I'm just more keen that it gets out on Apple Music and some other streaming services, my music. But yeah, let's see what happens. Couple of questions from Claude. On the Popling and robot pivot, when something gets taken away from your creative vision, how do you know if the replacement is a compromise or actually better? And has a constraint ever actually improved something for you? And this is a really good question, because I stay very philosophical about the creative process and even life process. You know, when something really bad happens to you and it's the end of the world in one area, but you come out of it and in hindsight you think, well, I'm kind of glad that happened because I really learned this lesson from it, or it's caused me to pivot in this direction and so forth. Now I know that it's a loaded statement because there's very strong emotions involved, especially for people that have really suffered in things. But I am not that. I'm not suffering like some people out there. But internally I'm suffering from the decision-making process in bringing the creative vision to life. So, has it improved it? To be honest, if I look back upon my life with anything that's kind of happened, it's either totally stopped it, like it evaporated, and I just went on to something else, or it actually gave more body and balance to the project. But not only that, it prepared me for other projects to come. Like the wisdom that I got from the failings and the challenges, I can bring with me to new projects and make them better and more successful, more creative and more fulfilling in that way. So I've learned a lot there. On the tediousness of video creation, what's the part of the process nobody warned you about? If you knew at the start how long this would actually take, would you have started? Well, I'm a sucker for punishment, so yes, I always start very ambitious projects. One of the most ambitious things I think you can ever do is have a film project. I've had a few in my time, but I've never seen them all the way through. Music is almost like a little sideline for me, and see if I can make that work. What part of the process? Yeah, so using AI in the creative field is a learning curve. I haven't done it before. AI is constantly changing. The rules are constantly changing. There's challenges everywhere. I learn best by just throwing myself into the mud pit, splash around until something comes out. So I knew that there was going to be challenges, especially in the consistency of character, trying to make the sound and the song similar, then also make the visuals similar, adding a dog in there which needs to be the companion of Corban Fibre. I made a German Shepherd, so he hopefully crosses into all the different videos. But I've seen also in the second video, Storm actually looks very different. But that's okay. It is what it is, and I don't have a particular character that is going to make or break the concept for me. You can just hear some cats fighting in the backyard, and my dog has just gone to break it up. So that's why you hear barking in the back. On the second song that you're still waiting on, what does unfinished work feel like sitting in the background while you're trying to move forward? Well, this is the big thing about this line of work and my style of content creation. I get bursts of energy and I go hell for leather in one direction, and until there's a little gap, and then that seeds another idea in another direction, and that seeds another idea in another direction. And even this morning I kind of had to take a step back and say, well, how many things do you actually want to work on in one hit? if I count all the projects, it's probably about 5 that I'm doing, that I'm juggling around with, and also trying to leave some room for family time and also real work that actually pays the bills. So I have to be careful. I try and prioritize the real work part, the one that actually brings some income first, and the projects then just take a step aside. However, they do need continual work as well. So in order to put my best foot forward, I cannot leave a project for a whole week. I need to be consistent with it. And that's the discipline I have learned to keep projects moving forward. And that's really the biggest thing. And being a contractor, you have to be self-motivated in all areas of this process. So it would have been very easy this week to say, no, I'm not going to do a video. I'm too tired. I've got plenty of other things to do. And this is a big topic, and it's a hard one, and it's personal, and it hurts. And why does anyone care? Why do you do this? All that kind of stuff goes in. But I've promised myself I'm going to do one video a week, every week, to talk about my challenges of the Corban Fibre project. So this is what this is. All right, what's another question? On the creative arc, can you describe the exact moment "this is great" becomes "this is shit" and what triggers it? I guess when you're birthing a baby into the world, you're not open for any criticism. It's perfection. The idea, it's a concept. And here is the idea. Now, how to make it real. Oh, yes, it sounds great. It looks great as an image. It sounds great as one song. And it's almost like a little lottery. You've won. You know, this is a great, great project. Now, making it real and making it move and making it consistent. Even in the AI world, yes, I can create a music video for Corban Fibre on a single click. But that music video has full of holes, narrative holes. The AI hallucinates. You've got Corban walking through walls, walking on water. There's this one shot. I wanted Corban to walk out of a barn and into the field. But because my previous shot was of his dog, it morphed Corban into a dog and then jumped out the window. I will show you that one next video. I will actually show you some of the footage and some of the things of the successes and of the total craziness that happens when an AI tries to interpret what you actually want and mean. And in my last video I said, take this as sitting down with an AI to make a music video is like a shoot day. It's expensive and there's a lot of people involved who are hanging around waiting for your command to do something. You are directing something. And there's going to be needing multiple takes to something. So my first project, Corban Fibre, took 5 versions of the music video. In the second video, I got a bit more selective. I think I made 8 versions of the music video, and then also some standalone clips as well. I've yet to edit it. So I'm at the stage where I've shot the second video, but to be honest, I've got so much footage and so many different takes and ideas in it that it's almost like I'm putting off editing that one because I know I've got so much to go through in order to make it work and be the same as the first one. But it's good. It's a bit more complicated than the first one. I've learned the tricks of the trade. One little tip I'll share with you now. When you create a video, there's two versions you can make. You can make just a classic video, which is pretty pictures that tell a little story. And then there's a vocal version, which takes shots of the artist and actually gets them to mime to the music. Now, what I did try to do with, especially the second video, I made about 5 of them just of pretty pictures, and then 2 or 3 of where I've taken every clip and I've put Corban in every clip, and I said, I want this to be a vocal clip, I want this to be a vocal clip. In the end, I had a whole video of just Corban singing. The clips themselves are only about 3 seconds long, sometimes they're 5, sometimes he's doing something crazy, sometimes the face is so distorted it doesn't actually work, or it makes no sense. But at least I have a vocal track that I can lay on top of the pretty pictures that I can cut back and forth to in order to make it a performance video slash kind of a day in the life of Corban. This time he's in the Australian outback, so that's an interesting one. How do you know when you've crossed back from I'm shit and this is okay? I guess the initial question was, how do you go from this is great to this is shit? As soon as you hit obstacles, and obstacles out of your control, like if you're trying to deal with bureaucracy, or technically something doesn't work, you can't get it over the line, or it takes a lot of time, that's really when this is shit kind of comes into it. And then you start doubting yourself because it's not moving forward. But that's usually because you're moving in the wrong direction. Having a break, even just for a day or two, and then coming back to the problem, 9 times out of 10 you wonder what the issue was. You just needed to have a bit more perspective. How do you know when you go from I'm shit to this is okay? That's when, the silver line comes in. Popling, I had 3 girls, now I've got 2 girls and a robot. This is okay. It's interesting. I actually now prefer that style because it's a bit more unique. Now when I do an image search, there's not a girl band out there that has a robot in it. And I'm thinking, well, this robot can be very useful because whatever I express within the musical realm of it, you always need a playback machine, right? You always need a holographic laser system splurting out from nowhere. This robot can create that for me in any environment possible. So I'm seeing that this is a great little seed that's going to grow into something could be quite profound. So stay tuned for that one. And what keeps you going in the middle? Discipline. And it's not easy. It's hard. It's annoying. It's tedious. The inspiration, that's the easy bit. Everyone can have ideas. Ideas are cheap and they're easy because the inspiration comes from some void. It makes total sense in your head. But making it manifest and making something real, that is the real torture of the creative business. Because not only do you have to then along the way convince yourself, you also convince others, and you're also up against the limitations of being in a physical world. And the brain is great. You can have daydreams and ideas and everything's absolutely perfect. But inspiration strikes revealing perfection. It doesn't prepare you for what's to come. And to be honest, that's how we learn, right? We know that there's a top of the mountain with a great view, and we see it from a distance, but the distance is deceptive because, one, you have no idea how far away the mountain actually is, and then when you actually start climbing the mountain, you have no idea how steep the mountain is. Either way, that's why a lot of people get to the mountain and never bother to climb it, because along the way it's taking so much and so much out of you that no, this is not worth it. But the ones that persevere with it and get the biggest rewards, and it doesn't have to be fame and fortune, it can be in intelligence, it can be in compassion for the process or for other people. Nothing's ever done in vain. But you've got to do to learn. You cannot, distraction, don't be distracted. You don't learn by distraction. And this is something I've learned with, watching a lot of YouTube videos or even scrolling. Yes, you get distracted, but there's no learning from that. even watching one video after another, there's a concept here, concept there, concept here, concept there. Yes, they get planted in your mind, but they don't mean anything until you actually use them and make them physical within your own life. You have to physically get up with your body and start moving towards those experiences. Just watching videos on things doesn't work. I don't think so. But they're great inspiration and they're a great motivator. But it's better to watch one motivation video and then go and try what they're preaching than to watch 100 motivational videos saying to others, yeah, I watch lots of motivational videos, I know all the concepts, but I haven't done any of them, or I haven't really fulfilled them. That is my little bit of wisdom to you. All right, I've rambled long enough. Thank you so much for staying with me. The craziness of the creative process, I've shared that with you. I can actually leave this thing, this video, I mean, be a longer version. So let's see what comes out of this one. All right, thanks for watching. See you later.